I'm here to provide for the community. Welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico giving y'all a draft edition of NFL Report. Today's topics: 2019 NFL Draft Pronunciation Help Guide and Cheat Sheet, and also the full names for nicknamed, acronym name players like AJ Brown. Let's get it. Your boy Rico is here to help everybody out. If you make mock drafts, here's your guide to not embarrass yourself in front of your listeners or viewers. If you love to just talk draft stuff around your peers, here's your chance to sound like you know what you're really talking about when you pronounce the most complicated names correctly and fluidly. Or if just for some reason you like names, here's your video. Now a disclaimer: the pronunciations I present to y'all are correct and took a lot of research, but the little how to pronounce visual breakdowns will not always be the correct way to write it out. Some of them are just simply what I use to remember how to pronounce the name. For example, Isaac on the screen. The actual International Phonetic Alphabet way to write this out is not what I have on the screen. This is just the way that helps me remember it. I put my little spin to that. So don't go around typing up Isaac like on the screen when you guys are trying to use the International Phonetic Alphabet on some blog or something. I do not follow the IPA every time. I do a lot of the time for many of the players I have in this video, but not for everyone in this video. The only thing fully accurate throughout this video is the pronunciation of people's names and the full names of people with acronyms in their name, such as DJ Swearinger, AJ Brown, and such, which is why we are here. Also, I'm only covering 40 names that people may have difficulty pronouncing. All of these players are widely considered to be in the top 150 players available in the draft, and I'm not gonna lie, I personally will be coming back to this video as a reference for pronouncing names in the coming months. I hope y'all do the same, so like the video, favorite it, add it to your watch later, bookmark in your browser, keep this video somewhere so you can come back to it when you need it like I will, and also subscribe if you haven't. I will subscribe back, but let's jump into this. First on the list, defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, and I put my own spin to the IPA. It's Quinn and then Nin, like the Nin you have from Hunter x Hunter. You have to unlock your Nin, and then his last name is Williams. That's easy. So that's just starting off very light. Just wanted to make sure people knew exactly what it was, that it was Quinnen and not Queenan or Kennen, because a lot of the times the QUI comes out as a K sound or even a key, but for him it's just Quinnen Williams. Now there's edge rusher Clelin Ferrell. Cleveland, like Cleveland Ave in Atlanta, if you pronounce it with the Atlanta accent, it's not Clelin Ferrell, it's Cleveland Ferrell. Now defensive end Rashawn Gary. It is Rashawn Gary, because you never know, it could have been Rayshawn or Ration or Ration. All kinds of way you could twist up this name, but it is Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary. Then we have safety Deontay Thompson. Deontay Thompson. This is for the people that don't know how to necessarily pronounce these names, these black names. I hear it sometimes being messed up in many different ways, but the correct way is Deontay Thompson. Not Deontay, not Deontay, it's Deontay Thompson. Then you have defensive lineman out of Florida, Ja'Kai Polite. Ja'Kai Polite. Not J-Kai, not J-K, but Ja'Kai. And then his last name is simple, Polite. Ja'Kai Polite. And then there's offensive tackle, Jawan Taylor. It could have been Jaywan. I've seen some Juwans out there too, but this one is Jawan Taylor. Jawan Taylor. Then there's wide receiver, DK Metcalf, and his full name is DeKalin Zacharias Metcalf. The problem I had was with the last name, because it could have been Metcalf. You could have pronounced it all the way. You never know. Metcalf. You never know. I just want to make sure we got this straight. DK Metcalf. And by the way, wide receiver AJ Brown's full name is Arthur Brown. Just for the people who want to know that. But people are always going to say AJ Brown. In the draft process, while he's in the NFL, his name is going to be AJ Brown. But I feel like people should know that his full name is Arthur Brown. Just like a lot of people didn't know that Steph Curry's real first name is Wardell. Because that threw me off when I found out. I didn't find that out till like 2 years ago. Then there's safety Nasir Adderley. Nasir Adderley. Not Nasir, not Nasir, and not Adderley. It's Adderley. Nasir Adderley. And now we're getting to the good ones. This one is offensive tackle Yadni Kajust. Yadni Kajust. I don't even have to explain how many different ways y'all could have said this one and gone about it, especially with the E at the end of his last name. It's just simply Yadni Kajust. Yadni Kajust. Next we have defensive end Montez Sweat. Not Sweet, Sweat. Montez Sweat. Not Moon, not Mound, or whatever somebody might come up with. Is Montez Sweat. Simple. Then you have offensive tackle Dalton Risner. This was a tricky one because I didn't know if it was Risner, or whatever else it might have been. This one is literally just Dalton. That's easy enough. Risner. Dalton Risner. And now here's a good one. Wide receiver JJ Arcega-Whiteside. And this is a 2-for-1 because not only am I helping y'all pronounce his name, but I'm also telling you what the JJ is. It is Jose Joaquin Ortega-Whiteside. It's like a Spain type of Spanish, not Western world Spanish. It's literally Spain Spanish, so you know it comes with a little bit of a lisp. Jose Joaquin Ortega-Whiteside. JJ Ortega-Whiteside. Now to something a little bit easier. Wide receiver N'Keal Harry. It is a ne, not a n. Doesn't really matter that much unless you have pronunciation police where you are, because it's really too small of a difference to notice unless you're really trying to notice. But it is N'Keal and not N'Keal. N'Keal Harry. Now we're to cornerback Amani Oruwariye. Amani Oruwariye. Amani Oruwariye. This is probably the hardest one for me to just say it fluidly and straight through. Amani Oruwariye. That one took a little practice. There's some more difficult ones coming up, but for some reason, this one is just the hardest to just say clean. Amani Oruwariye. I feel like I'm having to pace myself when I say it, but that's the way to say it. That is the way it says on the Penn State pronunciation guides. Amani Oruwariye. And then you have offensive guard Drew Samia. So not Samia or Samia. It is emphasis on the me. Drew Samia. Then there's defensive end Charles Omenihu. It's actually pretty easy once you know how to pronounce it. It's just simply Charles Omenihu. Omenihu. Charles Omenihu. Then we get to wide receiver Antoine Wesley. It's a French name, and the French way to say it is Antoine, but I'm pretty sure it's just the English one. So it is Antoine Wesley. Then there's offensive lineman Michael Dieter. Easier than I thought. I thought it was going to be Dieter or something, or Dater. I mean, it's so many ways you could have gone about this one. But it is Michael Dieter. Michael Dieter. Simple. And then here's my boy from UGA, tight end Isaac Nada. I, as in like the I you see with, and then Zik, and then Nata. Isaac Nada. And next we have defensive back Darnell Savage. It's not Darnell. It's not Darnell. It is Darnell, like hammer and nail, Savage. Darnell Savage. Easy, but it's just one of them ones you kind of have to look at to make sure that he doesn't pronounce it a certain way. Then there's wide receiver Marquise Brown. I know some people say Marquise with theirs, so I had to make sure we knew that it was, in fact, Marquise. Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown. And then there's Washington, inside linebacker, Ben Burr-Kirvin. It's not Carvin. Burr isn't said some fancy way. It's just Ben Burr-Kirvin. Simple. And then there's edge rusher O'Shane Zimenez. This one is really interesting because I looked up a bunch of interviews with people pronouncing his name, and this was the most common. But I am not 100% confident in this because I've heard so many different ways to pronounce it. Somebody call that man and ask him. A lot of other languages pronounce it with Jimenez, but I'm going to go with the Zimenez, and he never corrected the people that said Zimenez. With the situations that they asked him, it just seemed like he could have easily have just stepped up and said Zimenez. It was one-on-one interviews with just a camera, you know, little amateur-like. He could have easily just corrected them and edited it out, but you never know. Maybe he's just used to just accepting people saying his name wrong. But my by far best educated guess is O'Shane Zimenez. Then you have defensive back Jaquan Johnson, making sure people out there know that it is not Jaquan, like hey Jaquan or something like that. It's Jaquan Simple. Jaquan Johnson. Next, we have offensive tackle Dennis Daly. After getting nowhere with research, I'm most confident in the name that I pronounced Daly. Not the everyday type Daily, depending on how you pronounce Daily, because a lot of people say daily and daily almost the same exact way. And it's also not like a baby saying dada, like Dally. It is Daily. Dennis Daly. Next, we have outside linebacker Joe Giles Harris. Giles, not Giles or Giles, and not Hiles either. And I feel sorry for people who are trying to learn English, because he has two straight names that start with different letters, but both of them start with the same exact sound. One of them starts with a J, the other one starts with a G, but it's Joe Giles Harris. Joe Giles Harris. This one honestly surprised me. I almost swore it was Giles. I'm so glad I looked into it. Even though honestly I've never met a Giles, so it does make sense. Joe Giles Harris. Then there's center Elton Jenkins. Yes, the G is silent. That is crazy. I never would have guessed. I was over here like Elgton? Elgatone? It was crazy. I was lost. But in fact, it is Elton. You just ignore the G. Elton Jenkins. Next up is safety Alohi Gilman. As I expected, it's not Aloe or Aloe. It is Alohi Gilman. Alohi Gilman. Then you have Ohio State defensive tackle Draymond Jones. Just in case for those who may not know. Because even I'm tempted to put some French on it and say Draymond. But nah, it's just Draymond Jones. Simple, Draymond Jones. Then there's Boise State quarterback Brett Rippin. Brett Ripin. Brett Rippin is Ripin. And if you're a Washington Crimson Tide fan like me, then there's no excuse for not knowing that one. Brett Rippin is the nephew of Mark Rippin. Same blood, same last name, same pronunciation. Brett Rippin. Next up is tight end Jace Sternberger. Jace Sternberger. And I'm actually here for the name Jace, honestly, because I've never met a Jace before. So I had to make sure it was Jace and not Jase or JC or something crazy like that. It's just a normal Jace. Jace Sternberger. Next up, we have defensive end Jalen Ferguson. It's a little bit different from my brother Jalen. It's Jalen, not Jalen. So it's Jalen Ferguson. Jalen Ferguson. Then you have Oregon defensive back Ugochukwu Amadi. So to slow it down, it is Ugochukwu Amadi. Ugochukwu Amadi. Once you know what it is, it's not that hard to pronounce. It's just when you first look at the name, it's a little bit intimidating, but it's pretty simple. Ugochukwu Amadi. Then you have cornerback Derek Beatty. It was so annoying looking everywhere for his last name pronunciation and getting the same thing. It said, in quotations, same as Beatty, unquote. B-A-T-E-Y. That doesn't help me. It's like looking up a big word in the dictionary and they use another big word to describe that big word. Why didn't they just give me the IPA example of it? They kept just saying same as Beatty. I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? That's Batay in some languages, and it could be Bitey or Batty. But I want to make sure I'm right and steer y'all into the right direction with these names, so y'all not out here looking crazy in the street. It is Derek, Dare as in truth or dare, Rick Beatty. Derek Beatty. Then there's defensive lineman Renell Wren. I could have guessed this too. It's not that hard, but it could have been Renault or Renell or Renal. So I had to make sure. It is Renell Wren. Renell Wren. Renell Wren. Then you have defensive back out of Alabama, Trayvon Diggs. Somebody might think it's Trevin or Trevon. And yes, he's the younger brother of Stephon Diggs, if y'all were wondering. But his name is Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs. Next is tight end Albert Okwuegbunam. Albert Okwuegbunam. And this is one of those that even once you know what it is, it's still kind of hard to say, especially trying to read it. You kind of just got to say it over and over again to fully get it. At least I have to. But his name is not that difficult to pronounce. It's just Albert Okwuegbunam. Then you have offensive lineman Bo Benshaw. And this one is tricky in a lot of different ways. Because Bo, even though that is usually Bo, could have been Bow or something crazy. I mean, you never know if somebody's parents just got fancy and said B-A-U or something. So it is definitely Bo. And then with all of that, for the last name, it's just Benshaw. Simple. Bo Benshaw. Bo Benshaw. And lastly, linebacker Tavon Connie. Tavon Con-E. Another just in case for people that don't know which way these names go. It could have been Tavon, Taven. So, you know, I fully understand if you don't know how to pronounce these types of names, but it is Tavon Connie. But that's it for this draft edition episode of NFL Report. Thanks for the view. I'm going to keep bringing y'all occasional updates on the NFL and especially the draft throughout this entire offseason from December to August. This will include roster moves, draft prospects, scouting reports. I got y'all back. And like I said earlier, I personally will be coming back to this video as a reference for pronouncing names in the coming months. I hope y'all do the same. Like the video, favorite it, add it to your watch later, bookmark it in your browser, Google, Safari, Mozilla, whichever one you're using. Keep this video somewhere so you can come back to it when you need it, just like I will. And also, something that's very important, make sure y'all get in them comments and let me know which names you had the most difficulty pronouncing, because that is hilarious. You are not racist for getting people's names wrong. It's really okay out here. Also, which names do you feel I should have added to this video? And then while y'all at it, make sure you Dolomite fake punch that like button, favorite, subscribe. I will subscribe back. Please subscribe if you haven't. I'm going to keep bringing draft content, NFL content in general, and I'm also a Redskins channel, so I dive deep into what the Redskins have going on, past, present, and future. But also make sure you comment and share, please. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.